While I thought about what else I could add to the lab, I went back to the control room. Every control room needs a big central computer screen overwatching everything that's going on, and as luck would have it, Dr. Wu's lab had a fairly appropriate sticker for this. I couldn't build the screen into the wall, otherwise it would be visible from the kitchen, so I tried a few different methods of attachment using slopes, fully enclosing the screen, simple plates, even a different window type. I settled on a combination of both slopes and plates. A big screen isn't much use without some powerful servers running the software overseeing the park's operations. The servers we see in the control room are fairly simple black towers with a red stripe down the front of them, but I don't like to make things easy for myself. I wanted to build these servers with all their edges flush, so I first had to work out where I could seat a modified brick to get the front face flush with the base. 4 plates did the job. The red stripe was a little trickier due to using shorter grill tiles. My original plan was seating this level with the top of the base plate and slightly inset, but this was quite a weak structure, so I doubled up the faceplate and lowered the grill. Each grill had to be attached to the server individually. The lowest grill wasn't much of an issue, and the centre grill went in no problem, but the upper grill was problematic. The half-plate gap is a nemesis I often encounter while building with Lego. I won't bore you with all the attempts I made to solve this. The solution was the humble headlight brick, and with that in place, the rest went together nice and easily. I'd say that's a pretty fine looking server. At long last, the tiles needed for the red stripe have arrived. Let's get them in place. Much better. There was also a new grey plate for the workbench. Through physically building one of the servers, I felt it was possibly a bit tall. The servers in the film are probably around as tall as a person, but they appeared a little domineering in the space I had. Going back into Studio, I cut the middle section out to reduce the height by a third, producing a more compact and appropriately sized build. Designing this in grey just helps me work with the outlines more easily. I think that's looking more appropriate. I now had to fix the servers to the floor, but I didn't want to just square them against the wall. That would look boring. Because I'd chosen to use plates rather than tiles for the floor, this was a tricky one. I've briefly touched upon laying plates at angles before, but with such a small footprint and really wanting the server to look like it had feet, the best option was fixing the server down at a single point and using small round tiles as a resting point where appropriate. Satisfied with the servers, I moved on, filling in some brickwork before wondering how to finish off the embryo storage. I didn't want to put a roof over it as that would block out valuable light and restrict viewing, so I had in mind a simple framework to connect the panels together. I first had to spend some time resizing the embryo housing to fit under whatever I came up with. This was a bit of a fiddly job. Working with bars and axles in Studio can be quite frustrating. I got there in the end. I made a simple 3-point frame for the roof and filled out the foundations to complete the look. Something about this didn't quite work for me. I may have gone back to Jonas Cram for some inspiration here, using vertical bars to create the illusion of window frames and trying a similar 3-point roof. This still didn't work for me, but now I had these plates joining the panels together, maybe a simple layer of tiles following the outline would work. There we go. After a quick touch-up of the lab's walls, I began working on the kitchen design. I didn't really have any plans for this, so my first thought was simply adding in a few extra kitchen utensils. I fixed a couple of bricks with clips into the wall to act as hangers, and made an attempt to attach a frying pan, but the shape unfortunately wouldn't allow for it. Hanging a ladle at the end of the workbench seemed like an obvious choice, though that still required some adjustments to fit in place. A ladle needs something to ladle from, so a big pot was the next addition. This required an extension to the worktop, so I needed something with appropriately positioned studs to fix the pot onto. As it happened, I wound up copying the original table, with a small tile filling in the remaining gap. One standout feature of the kitchen is a large unit I initially thought was cupboards. Looking now, I think it's an extractor unit, but cupboards still feel like a better choice. Who wants to look at an extractor unit? I tried a few different doors I felt would be suitable. The first looked a little too tall, while the second was too narrow. The third door was just right. It was simple enough fixing them into the walls at one end, but I wasn't sure how I could fix the other end in place, or how I could cover the top and underside. I'll leave this one for later. Having removed the utensil holders for the cupboards, I fitted them back to the adjacent wall. The Lego Friends theme has a great range of kitchen utensils, but as I was wondering what to fill the second clip with, I got distracted wondering whether I could build a mixer. I needed a base for the bowl to stand on, a hinged arm to hold the whisk, and a control dial. Using a male hinge on one part would require a female hinge on the adjoining part, but I wasn't thrilled with the selection of female hinged parts. I decided instead to use clips, with a small bracket to fit the control dial to. I found a range of potential tiles for the dial, which I whittled down to one of the gauges. Finally, it needed a base, so I used another bracket to give me a stud I could then fix into a tile with a central hole. With a splash of grey, the mixer was complete, and fitted in nicely with the kitchen setup. A yellow exclamation mark had caught my eye in the parts list, which sadly led me to discovering the ladle only came in 2 colours, neither of which were suitable here, so it had to be replaced with a spoon. Doesn't quite have the same impact. With a couple more accessories, the kitchen layout was complete. It just needed some patching up, and I needed to fix those cupboards to the wall.